Adam Lerner, and welcome to this week's Friday Flickr Photo Critique. And this week we have a very special guest, Jared Poland, the Fro himself. Say hello, Jared.
Hello, Adam.
So this week I chose this photo set because this young photographer did a lot of really interesting things, and particularly used a bunch of different formats. He's shooting digitally, he's shooting with 35mm film, he's also shooting with Polaroid, and he's also doing a bunch of things outside the box. And even his first image right outside of the gate is this really kind of fun, whimsical self-portrait. He's sitting there holding all of his prized possessions, his Canon AE1, which, we all kind of know and love. He also has in the crook of his hand there what looks to be a Canonet, which I think is a Canonet, which is a rangefinder Canon 35mm camera. Kind of a very cool camera right there. And then in his left hand, I'm guessing that's his Polaroid, but maybe, Jared, you know better. I can't quite tell.
I don't know what that. I was just trying to figure. It has 3 lenses on it.
Yeah, I mean, or those could be for focusing. It's hard to say.
That's weird. I don't know what it is. I also have to say that it's weird for me to sit here and not talk.
Well, you can talk all you want.
It's your show.
Well, I'm very glad that you're a part of it. So this was shot with the Canon EOS Rebel T1i, 1/60th of a second, f5 at 14mm and at ISO 400. And, of course, a flash was fired. Would be interesting to kind of know how the flash was fired, if this was on a stand or an umbrella. It looks like there's some reflection in his glasses. Can't really tell what that is. But I like this. I like that it's just kind of like a fun play on things. I don't think that this was an easy shot to set up, for yourself. I think that, in doing this, he obviously just positions himself a little bit off center. But, everything that counts is in the frame. What do you think, Jared?
Yeah, I like the reflection in the glasses. I'm trying to figure out what it is. I mean, it looks like it doesn't look like a studio. It just looks like he's standing against the wall.
Yep.
And the flash was a little off camera because of the shadow you can see.
Yep.
But yeah, sure, it's off center slightly, but it's a self-portrait, and that doesn't bother me as much because my focus goes to the cameras he's holding and cradling, and it's a nice. And he's got all the different, the neck straps on and everything. So I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I give him an A for effort, and I like the shot. I think it's very cool. All right, let us move on here. Under a red canopy. So, fall shot, lots of bokeh. I guess the focus is maybe the top left of the frame there on some of those leaves.
It looks like it.
Yeah, texturally it's nice. I think the colors are really cool. I find it to be more of kind of a backdrop shot. Like I feel like it's missing something oomph. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, it's, me with nature type shots. I mean, it's a nice postcard. It's it's just one of those interesting things. I am not personally drawn to images like this, but again, I like photographing people and capturing the emotions there. And if you feel that the emotion is captured here of the leaves and the time of season, then it's definitely a winner.
Sure.
The color, it's very red, but it's not a problem for me. It's just not my personal cup of tea.
Yep.
But then again, it could be, like you said, a backdrop. I mean, it is an interesting image. The bokeh, the out of focus stuff is really interesting.
Sure.
And I'm not sure it needs to have anything there to be put into context. I just think some people will like it and other people won't.
There it is. All right, moving on.
I mean, that's the best I could put onto it.
Yeah, no, I agree. This was actually one of my favorites. In fact, I'm going to fave this one right now. I got to do that from a different account. Anyway, I actually really, really like so many components of this image. I love the selective focus. I love how we have enough information on the door of this truck that we know that it's the Montauk Surf Rescue, but that's enough context here. And I love like these little kind of lights dancing on the door as well, kind of all bokeh'd out. I like the coloration of this. You know, I think that he processed it kind of in a vintagey way to give it more of a vintage feel, which really corresponds with the truck. This is definitely one of my favorites. I'm definitely going to fave it when we get off of this. And while you're giving your feedback, I'm going to just look at the EXIF data on this one.
Yeah, I like how you said it has that vintagey look. It's an older vehicle. It's an older truck. Oh, you have two screens. That's how you're looking at the EXIF data, isn't it? It took me that long to figure. It took me the whole time.
Oh.
Yeah, it took me a little bit to see how you were. I'm like, how is he doing this?
Zap.
Yeah, but anyway, no, I like that it's focused right on the door handle, and you get a little bit of the background playing in on it. The colors are very muted. But other than that, you pretty much said it all. It's a nice vintagey shot. That this is a town, I'm assuming, that you could put this photo at the restaurant or in a restaurant there, excuse me, and it would be a great addition to the wall.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm only going to guess that it's Montauk, New York, because of Montauk and surf rescue, and there's a big surf scene up there. So yeah, this is the kind of shot that you absolutely could go to, you know, somebody who has a restaurant there and maybe try to pitch it to some of the local business people up there. The other thing I like about it is that, you know, the time of day. I mean, this was shot obviously at a dusk time of day, I'm guessing, which is not easy to do. This was shot with a Canon EOS Rebel T1i, 50th of a second, f1.8 at 50 millimeters, so we had a 51.8 on there, ISO 200. So really nice, and yeah.
Yeah, and I would say this, if you were to do a photo story from the place, that would be amazing to go to one of the local hangouts and present them with the story of this town in photos. And that's a good way of getting, say, a gallery show or something going on in the town, because everybody they live there. And it's definitely a good thing to think about, hitting all the famous places in your town or where things happened or all the landmarks, and then going ahead and trying to get a gallery show at the local coffee shop or something like that.
Definitely. Yeah, and this has kind of like that fine art look, which I think, you know, both you and I are responding to. Okay, moving on. So this looks to be a Polaroid, a scan of a Polaroid, and maybe, oh, it's a Honda Trail 90, so it's like a moped, like maybe, what is this, a 60s or 70s kind of Honda. And this is just shot, I guess, from the headset down to the front the front headlight, which also has the speedo and odometer in there. You know, this is kind of cool in the sense that I'm gonna guess that this was like a night shot, maybe.
Are you sure that it's a Polaroid?
Let me just go look into the EXIF and see if there's any substantive data in there.
I mean, I would think that it's film of some sort, being that the border was left. It may be hand printed.
No, actually, you're right. This is shot from his Canon A1 with Tri-X. So,
right, and then printed with the border and then scanned.
Okay, good. Yep. Because I was deceived, I guess, by the border over here. Yeah, interesting how you know, the frame kind of goes from dark to light at the edge over here. I don't know. I mean, it's a cool shot. It puts things in context. You know, the one unfortunate thing is that the control cable that kind of cuts into the middle of the speedometer is a little bit distracting. You know, there's a lot of ways to photograph like headlights from vintage motorcycles and mopeds and whatever, and I think that maybe a different angle would have been a little bit cooler. But, you know, it works. It's nicely exposed.
Sure, I agree.
Okay, moving on.
Not much more.
This also looks like it was shot with the Canon... let's see. This was with the Canon A1 Tri-X, absolutely. And I really like this shot quite a bit. I like the way that, you know, that the gun barrel's in focus, and you kind of see the intensity of this kid looking down the barrel right at you. It's kind of playful. I like the way the light is coming in from the side of the frame. I think this works on just so many levels. And this shot and the Montauk shot is what really drew me to this photo set.
Well, I'll say what's good about this is when you look at the headroom, it left a lot of headroom, which is good.
Yep.
And that picture up on the wall helps keep the frame intact.
Yes.
It's not drawing, like if it was just dead space up there, then it would have been too much headroom. But being that it has a photo on the wall or a picture on the wall, it keeps you centered, looking right in at the barrel of the gun and the kid that's behind it. And yeah, and shooting with film and getting the light right, obviously understanding your meter is extremely important because you can't take a picture and look at your screen. Yeah, because you can't look at your screen.
Exactly. No, I'm going to agree with all of that. I really like the way that you've got these shapes that are balancing each other. You've got the shape of the bed in the lower left of the frame, and then you've got that square of the picture hanging in the right of the frame, and then you've got this kid, you know, framed there nicely with the light hitting across him and the selective focus. It just hits all those good points, and it's just cool. You know, it really does work.
Yep.
Moving on. Okay, in Paris. Oh, ho, ho, ho. Well, okay. Yeah, there's a bunch of things going on here. You know, it's a street shot, I would guess. This was shot with the ES Rebel again. This was shot at f7, 50 millimeter f1.8 lens, and
cropped.
Yeah, it's definitely cropped, and it was ISO 400. Now, judging from how the highlights are just blown out to bits, I would have maybe even shot this at ISO 100 with that camera. But you know, it's interesting because, you know, we've got the street in shadow over here, but then you've got the upper bit of the photograph that's like almost blown out. And the reason why this image works is because you've got enough light on her face and the angle of her face with all kind of the craggles in here to make it work. As far as street photography, you know, it's interesting, but I feel like we need more context, we need more detail. If it didn't say in Paris, it could be anywhere.
Yeah, and that's something that, I mean, I think the composition is a little weird here. If he was across the street and threw the subject to the left of the frame and had the walkway, you know, because you can see the street, the crosswalk, if you had that and you were further away and you were able to get her whole body in there, then yeah, that would be a cooler street photo. It doesn't grab me as much because of there is no context there. Absolutely.
So I'm going to completely agree with all of those things. And, you know, sometimes when you're shooting with a 51.8, you really just have to move around. I mean, that lens, particularly on a crop sensor camera, is just, you know, it's what it is. It provides a lot of, you know, telephoto action. So, you know, you just have to step back or step across the street, like you said, just kind of try to see that frame in a bunch of different ways. And, you know, why not? You're shooting digital, take a bunch of frames, see what you come up with.
Yep.
All right, moving on. All right, so this was, I guess, my third favorite image from the photo set that we have here, and this was shot with a Polaroid land camera. I'm not sure which land camera it was, and this is Fuji instant film. So this probably was maybe one of the 100, 200, 300, 400 series cameras.
Would you call this a multiple exposure?
Absolutely. And in this case, it really works. You know, because you've got this construction barrier, you know, that's going up the frame, and you've got the street going up the frame, but then you've got the sidewalk over here and the construction barrier. I don't know. I mean, you've got this stairway kind of with these railings, so it's got to be a double exposure.
It's a freaky shot. The only other thing that I could think of was if it was like through glass and there was a reflection and that the barricade was behind you, but I just don't think that's possible.
No.
I just think that it shot, yeah, two different angles, one closer than the other, and yeah, I mean, it's just one of those shots that you look at, and this is something that you used to do a lot with film.
Yep.
Double exposures, trying to create some art, trying to create something different that you kind of don't see this with digital.
Right, that's absolutely true. And I think that in this particular case, you know, with the depth of field and the muted colors and kind of just the trippy nature of that no parking construction site tape that's just kind of floating through the center of the frame, it really works. So I like this quite a bit. And I also like the fact that Trevor is, you know, trying a bunch of different mediums and just trying stuff, you know, and just not just like sitting there with his AE1 and going ch-ch-ch-ch-ch. He's actually thinking about things, and film, you know, is hit or miss. I mean, this could have worked or not, and that worked.
Yeah, especially with Polaroid.
Yeah, Polaroid is definitely hit or miss. So here we have another kind of tree shot, and this one was done black and white. This was with the Canon again. F1.8 1/60th 50 millimeter ISO 400 and AE priority. So you know what, this image works, it just doesn't really do much for me. I don't think that this is, you know, a top 10 photo set photo.
Yeah, if I was to put a portfolio together of the top 10, the red one definitely is more compelling than this one.
Sure.
Yeah, it's tough when you're shooting nature in black and white if there's nothing in context up there.
Exactly.
So yeah, I lose this one a little bit too.
Right. So, you know, we'll move on.
And it
Okay.
happens. Not every shot is going to be the greatest.
No. And anyway, so here we go. We got some kind of a landscape. And let me just look at the EXIF info here. This was the Canon again, the 51.8, shot at f7.1, ISO 400 aperture priority. Right off the bat, it's skewed to the right, and that just kind of drives me a little batty. You know, I think that with landscapes, particularly with you know, cityscapes and skylines, like you really need like the buildings to be at least right, you know, righted, let's say. I just get a sense that the image is like kind of leaning a little bit to the right. I like the way he kind of saw the landscape through whatever this window or these bars are, but at the same time, you know, like with that moped, I find that having these thick black lines kind of, you know, bisecting the frame, in this case, I find it a little bit distracting. How about you, Jared?
I don't mind the black lines as much, because it kind of draws me into the building in the middle.
Sure.
You know, that's what I see. So the black lines don't bother me as much. Sure, it would be a little different if they, you know, if they weren't there, but no, it doesn't hurt me as much. And I didn't really see the angle until you told me about it, that it is leaning. But I like the shadow area on the one side of the building versus the bright side. I think it works well. The tones are definitely processed very well.
Yes, no, the black and white processing is really nice here. And I guess let me just clarify. If that building in the center was like the Empire State Building or perhaps a more iconic building, yeah, I think that this image would work great. It would almost look like a triptych. But being that that center building is really maybe like less consequential, like less interesting, it's okay. You know, it works. It's nicely processed, nicely framed, but, you know, I think it could have stepped up a little bit if the subject was a little more interesting, is all.
Sure.
All right. And let's see, we have, well, there we go. We have an iconic building right there, the Empire State Building. And we've got two, I'm guessing two girls just looking out at it. Again, like the other image, this one is just slightly skewed to the right, which, you know, bugs me a little bit.
Maybe he's got one leg longer than the other.
This was also, you know, shot with his Canon. Let's look at the EXIF information over here.
You know what I would say about it?
Go ahead.
You know, you can see that it's obviously the girls are out of focus here. This is one of those times where if he's using the 51.8 again,
yep,
does that go to f like 32?
I don't.
No,
think,
it probably doesn't.
I think
maybe
that goes
it goes
up to maybe
like
f22.
22. I would have probably shot this, tried it at 22, and get both in focus. It's kind of weird when you do the opposite of wide open sometimes.
Sure.
And everything is in focus. It kind of messes with the brain.
Sure.
But it kind of looks interesting.
I honestly don't think with the 51.8 on the crop sensor that, you know, at f22 everything would have been in focus. But from when I saw this image, I actually would have liked to have seen the girls in focus and had the Empire State a little bit blurred, because we would have gotten the idea that it was the Empire State from its silhouette. And there would have been enough of it in focus at f7 or, oh, this was actually f2.5. Oh, okay, it's a tough one. I mean, you can see the the Statue of Liberty kind of in the lower right. There's a little bit of vignetting on here, which, you know, it's okay. It's a little gray, but I'm only going to imagine that by doing so, it allowed for us to see what was going on in the New York Harbor here. So,
you know what else I'd say?
Go ahead.
Actually, if the girls weren't in this and the metal railing was in it, I think it would have been a stronger image.
Yeah, that's true too.
Because that would just be like, well, that you know is a railing, and this you know are girls that are out of focus, and you'll be like, well, it's kind of odd. Again,
with that 51.8, there's a lot of different ways to shoot something.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just have to walk around, and, you know, when you're up on wherever they were here, you know, maybe this was top of the rock, it's hard to say. You know, you can just position yourself, and, you know, if you think that that Empire State Building is really something that's going to be your focus, just try it from a few different angles. But you know what, Trevor, really nicely done, really great photo set. I'm so glad that you shared it with me today. And Jared, thank you so much. I'm so glad that you were on this call with us today on this critique, this Friday Flickr Photo Critique.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And if you would like to submit your photos, please send an email with your 10 best photos in a photo set, a Flickr photo set, to adamlearnerphoto@gmail.com. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below or email me at adamlearnerphoto@gmail.com. That's it for now, and we'll see you soon.